The price factors into many things. Generally, the more money you spend, the better quality, more stability, and more customizations or other options. Typically, a good value for a standing desk is around $500 to $700. Around this range, you'll find the best bang for your buck. For a desk converter, around $200 will get quality materials as well as features. So I just mentioned a standing desk converter, which might be a better alternative if you're low on space or you want to spend a little less. So rather than getting a whole standing desk, these mechanisms are able to lay on any table, whether your dining room or a regular conventional desk, and are able to raise depending on what you want to put on there, like a monitor, or some of them have a second shelf for a mouse and keyboard. Now, they are usually far less expensive, around like $100, $200, but there is a small footprint, and of course they don't lie perfectly flat on your desk. They come in varying sizes, but what you'll find is generally you can only hold a few things on there besides your monitor and, like I mentioned, your mouse and keyboard. So if you have enough space and would like to have all your peripherals all on one level playing field, then of course a standing desk is the best option. So if you have a devoted workspace and need a workstation, the standing desk has the most options. Of course, you have just your regular desk shape, but you also have curved corner desks, you have L-shaped desks, you can even have ping pong table standing desks that move up and down. Or if you want, you can just have the frame where you can get a butcher block or a dining room table and use that as your own personal desk. So way more options. Once you pick a style that you like, you're gonna have to figure out how wide and how deep your desk is going to be, depending on what you want on there. Will you have two monitors? Generally, if you have two monitors, I like to combine the inches, so two 27-inch monitors need at least 60 feet. Also, depending on the company that you're shopping with, you'll find varying sizes, but generally the standard is 40 inches wide and 24 deep are your smallest that you can get, and 80 inches around there and 30 inches deep are your largest, or around that range. So varying options, but for me personally, I think you can never go too big if you have the space. Depth can be tricky because it depends on what you actually want to use on your desk. So are you going to be using monitor arms to hold your monitors, or will you be using the stand that they came with? Because that will actually take a little bit of space. Will you be using stands to put your monitors on, or any other peripherals that might cut into the space you have to work? Most often 30 inches is a good amount, but if you're looking for space, then definitely 24 should do. When it comes to tops, it's going to depend a lot on the company. Some of the more budget-friendlier brands are going to have a very few limited selection, usually laminate. I will add once again that a lot of the more value or premium brands do allow you to just purchase the frames, where you can of course get your own desktop. And generally when it comes to these frames, you can get them in varying colors. Of course, budget usually is like black. You might be able to get white, but mostly it's usually black, white, some variation of gray or gunmetal. And then when it comes to the frames, there are so many different types, and it depends again, what are you using it for? On average, most standing desks can lift around 150, 200 pounds. More of your higher tier, like $500, $700 standing desk can lift up 300, 400 pounds. Some even more depending on the shape, the size, and how many motors this certain brand has. And then with frames, there are different kinds of legs. So there are your T-frames, which has the leg right in the center, and so that allows for a more balanced support. But a lot of the chargers, the motors are right in the center of the desk, which might brush up against your leg. There are your C-frames, where a lot of that is pushed back, the leg is towards the rear. It's not as stable as the T-frame. There are your three-legged desks, where it's more for the L-shaped desk. And then of course there are desks with 4 legs. The 4-legged desks usually are the most stable. They have 0 wobble. They can hold the most weight, but also they are the most expensive, as you're using stronger motors and of course more metal for the legs. Another aspect of frames are range, depending on how low or how high you want the standing desk to go. Some frames have a very low range, where they can go anywhere from 25 inches to 50 inches. Other frames have maybe a lower range, where they can start at 22 inches, but they can only go to 48 inches. So depending on how many people will be using this desk, you'll need to find the best range. To find that, have someone help you measure yourself while sitting down on a chair. Your forearms should be perfectly parallel with the floor. floor. Wherever your forearm is generally is the best height for you. So generally, if you're under 5 feet, you're gonna want a desk that goes down at a minimum 42 inches while sitting down. Sitting up, 50 inches. Of course, if you're 5'5" or higher, you'll want something with a maximum height of at least somewhere close to 60 inches high. Next, we'll go to keypads and cranks to raise or lower the desk. The crank being the simplest and also the most affordable option while having not as much control as you'd like. Then we have, of course, the keypad, which are variations of them. When it comes to keypads, it follows a lot of the same rules I mentioned before: more options, more money. Now, the simplest ones, there are many where it's just a pad where you're able to touch it and raise it or lower the desk. There are some where to have memory presets from standing to sitting. There are many different options. Some of them actually have reminders that will tell you when to stand up or recommend when to stand up. There are different variations where some of them are more flush to the desk, some of them are angled, some of them are actually built into the desk depending on the brand. So besides the desk that actually use cranks to raise or lower them, most standing desks use some sort of power, and they also come with some sort of surge protector or power station. And a lot of them are fit and perfectly made to that desk. But I find a lot of times that you can use a third party and pick the perfect power station or surge protector built just for you. But I will ask that you probably have one that has a 6-foot cord, as you need something that will not rip out from the wall when you raise it up. And then they usually feature a lot of accessories around that power. So they might have a power hub that can rest on top of the desk. Some of them even have a wireless charger that you can place on the bottom of your desk to charge your phone. And usually you can get third-party products, but a lot of times they might actually have a bundle or give these products away for free. So that might be something to look at. Another option that you might have is, will you be using a caster? Do you need to move your desk around? Will you? Personally, I don't think most people will need to, but for me, I think it's a game changer being able to move my desk, not having to remove anything off of it and move it to one side of the room to paint or even set up. When I assembled this desk, I was able to do it someplace else and wheel it into my office. So it's a great option to have and usually not as expensive as you would think. Monitor arms. I discussed how you might need to consider that, especially when it comes to the depth of your desk. And a lot of companies actually have their own version of monitor arms. And again, you might be able to save on a bundle, but I feel like these are things that you can actually get from a third party and just slap it on your desk and pick the best monitor arm for you and not just what they have. And sometimes you might actually find a better deal offsite with a third party monitor arm. Now, personally, I love rockers. There are two different kinds. There is the one that I have where it goes side to side, and there are ones that's more free where you can move in any different direction. Surprisingly, you don't have to have good balance to use these, but why they're great is it allows you to remove the pressure or switch it from either feet. So this way you're able to last way longer standing up. It's more comfortable. It's kind of fun, kind of like surfing. I highly recommend a rocker. Or you can get a mat. Generally, there are different kinds of mats. There are some that have ridges. These, again, you can buy from a third-party source. The rockers as well, but generally I find the rockers that a lot of standing desk companies offer are top-notch. So you can't go wrong there. So most standing desk companies focus on ergonomics and movement. And so they'll have chairs that will focus on that ability to move around. Some of them rock, some of them are meant so you can sit in varying levels. So whenever you're fatigued from standing up, it'll still elicit you to move or might correct your posture. There are just your regular, more ergonomic chairs. There are some that are stools, which are meant for you to lean on. And then there are chairs that are specifically designed, they're called drafting chairs, for higher tables. These are things that maybe artists or architects use. They have little rings around the foot so that way you can keep your footing. They usually are more upright and have a better posture. You can get these chairs from a third party, but because of the focus of ergonomics and movement, a lot of these chairs from these standing desk companies are actually top notch. And you can also mix and match. I can get a desk from Uplift or Fully and also get a chair from Steelcase. Of course, usually they will bundle them up so you get to save more, but there are many options out there. But I would recommend definitely checking out the chairs from these companies. The moving parts, especially those that need electricity invite failure. So you want to make sure that the warranty for this company lasts at least a decade or more. And that may depend on the quality of the standing desk or the company. Of course, more budget-friendly models might not have a long warranty, but there's a lot of pieces, a lot of heavy pieces that may be damaged on the trip. So is there a restocking fee? Generally, a lot of these brands are well affiliated or associated with Google reviews. So you'll see a lot of comments on the quality as well as the customer service, but mostly anything around 500 I've seen are well established and have a pretty lengthy warranty and also are pretty open about returning things. I will personally answer any questions that you have below, and if you want, you can check out my review of my Uplift standing desk.